today we're diving into something called liminal thinking. And honestly, it's less of a complicated theory and more like a superpower for getting a handle on our crazy world. It's really all about creating change, simply by changing how you think.
I mean, have you ever wondered about this? Why is it that some of us just seem to get stuck, spinning our wheels, while other people seem to adapt and grow almost effortlessly? Well, the core idea we're going to unpack today is that the answer isn't about having more money or more authority. It's all about how we think.
So to really get this, there's one key word we need to know: liminal. It actually comes from the Latin word for threshold, and I want you to literally think of a doorway. It's that in-between space when you've left one room, but you haven't quite stepped into the next one. It's a point of transition. And learning how to just stand in that space, well, that's the key to everything. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll talk about this threshold of change. Then we'll get into the art of reframing our own beliefs in a really practical way. After that, we'll see how this kind of thinking helps us navigate the, let's face it, pretty saturated world we live in. And finally, we'll get to the ultimate goal: becoming intellectually sovereign.
All right, so first up, the threshold of change. What exactly is this doorway we're talking about, and how does it unlock new possibilities for us?
The core idea here is actually pretty simple, but it is so profound. Every single thing you do, everything you say, every thought that pops into your head, it all grows from a belief that you hold. And what that means is, if you really want to change your life, you have to start by looking at, and maybe even changing, your beliefs.
So what is liminal thinking, really? Well, for starters, it's not some mystical gift you're born with. It's just a set of skills that anyone can learn. It's the art of finding those doorways, those thresholds, and using them to actually create change. You could almost think of it as a special kind of mindfulness, one that's focused on making a difference. And the best part? You don't need to be the boss or have a huge budget to do it.
Okay, so we've got the what. Now let's get into the how. How do you actually practice this? This next part gives us a really practical framework we can use. What's really interesting is that this whole big idea, it really just boils down to these 3 simple precepts. First, you have to get in touch with your own ignorance. Just admit what you don't know. Second, you have to genuinely seek to understand where other people are coming from, not so you can win an argument, but so you can actually learn something. And third, based on that new understanding, you just have to do something different. And that's why those 3 steps are so powerful, because they give you a choice. You can just passively live in a world that's been shaped by everyone else's beliefs. Or you can use this process to actively start creating the world you want to see. It's about taking back your own power, your own agency. All right, this is where we kind of zoom out, because liminal thinking isn't just a self-help trick. It is a critical tool for making sense of the world today. We're moving from just personal change to finding some societal clarity. We live in a world of what our source material calls narrative saturation. I mean, think about it. We are just swamped, right? Overwhelmed by information wars, belief contagion, these ideas that just spread like wildfire through our social feeds and news channels. And all that noise makes it incredibly hard to just step back and think for ourselves. And this saturation kind of forces us into a battle between 2 different kinds of truth. On one side, you've got emotional truth. It's fast, it's reactive, it's driven by those powerful stories. It just feels right. But on the other side, you have structural truth. And that's something that's only revealed through slow, deliberate, liminal thinking. It's about seeing the whole system, not just the story that's being pushed on you. And this isn't a news struggle, by the way. You can see this kind of liminal thinking in some of the greatest minds in history. You had George Orwell, who warned us about how language can be twisted to hide reality. Hannah Arendt, who wrote about the dangers of just thoughtlessly going along with the crowd. And Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who showed the immense power of holding on to your own moral clarity, even in the face of overwhelming state propaganda. And that brings us to our final part, which is really the end game. The ultimate goal of all of this: becoming intellectually sovereign. This is the real payoff for learning how to stand on that threshold. So after all that, what's the point? What are we aiming for? It's not about convincing the world or joining some new group. The goal in the end is just one: a single sovereign mind, your mind.
The whole point is to become clear and free from that constant pull of outside narratives to really achieve your own inner clarity.
And this is maybe the most important thing to get. The goal here isn't validation. It's not about getting other people to agree with you or tell you you're right. The goal is clarity. It's about understanding things for yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need a round of applause.
So I'll leave you with this final thought from the source material. If any of this is resonating with you, if you feel that pull to find a little clarity in this very confusing world, just remember this. If you're here, it means you're not early, you're just on time.